Hello, boys and girls. It's time for Jeremy Thatcher Dragon Hatcher again. I hope you've been following along. I looked at the videos, and it doesn't look like a lot of people have been going to see them. So I hope that the people interested are able to find them. If you are not, let me know. Okay, here we go. We're on chapter 12, and I wanted to keep it a little short today, so I marked where I'm going to read to. And this one is an interesting chapter. If we go by the title, Night Flights. "I've got a chance," shouted Specimen when he heard the news. He was so excited he raced home to work on his entry as soon as school was over. Jeremy stayed behind, thinking about his conversation with Mr. Kravitz. He had told Spess only half of it, the personal part. The stuff about his own talent he was keeping to himself. Normally, he would have told Specimen everything, but lately he hadn't felt like talking to Spess so much. That shout of joy hadn't done anything to help matters. It was clear Specimen considered Jeremy's banishment from the contest fair punishment for getting the class in trouble to begin with. Jeremy was sick of it all. The teasing, the punishment, the injustice. He broke his favorite drawing pencil in half and threw it into the wastebasket. By the time he left the building, the only kid still hanging around was Mary Lou. She was waiting for him on the steps of the school. "That was a nice thing you did," she said. "I don't want to talk about it." Mary Lou started to say something else, then changed her mind. "We've got company," she said, switching the topic altogether. Jeremy looked around wearily. Were Howard and Freddie waiting to pound him? "Wrong direction," said Mary Lou. "Look up." He did, turning in a slow circle until he spotted Tiamat looming on the edge of the school roof. She was staring down at him with a look that could only be the dragon version of a smile. The tip of her tail dangled down so far it nearly reached the windows. "What are you doing here?" he demanded. "I came to take you home." Before Jeremy could ask what she meant, Tiamat leapt from the roof, spread her wings, and began to glide toward him, her claws extended before her. "Tiamat!" he yelled. "Tiamat, don't!" "What's going on?" cried Mary Lou. Jeremy's reply was cut short when Tiamat grabbed him by his sides, snatched him into the air. Jeremy's stomach lurched as the world fell away beneath them. "Put me down!" he cried. "Put me down!" But Tiamat only pumped her wings harder. "Hold still," she commanded. When he started to squirm, she sent him an image of a wriggling body falling from a great height. Ooh, that doesn't sound good. He held still. "Now look, look." Jeremy looked. The world that spread below him was beautiful. More beautiful than he had ever imagined. He had no idea Blodgett's Crossing had so many trees. It was greener than he would have guessed. "I love this place," he thought with surprise. "It's your home," replied Tiamat as she carried him over the park. He enjoyed the flight until he spotted a pair of familiar figures below. "Watch out," he said nervously. "I see Howard and Freddie." He could feel Tiamat's amusement. "They can't see you," she told him, using the same kind of images she had used to explain why his mother hadn't seen her. Jeremy wondered if that meant he was invisible while she carried him. He liked the idea. The flight was the greatest adventure of his life, and Jeremy couldn't wait to repeat it. That night, after everyone was asleep, he slipped out of the house and walked down to the barn. Tiamat was waiting for him. "Let me try riding," he thought, sending a picture of himself mounted on her back. Tiamat agreed, and Jeremy found it far more comfortable to straddle her back than to be carried in her claws. Once he was settled, she pumped her her great wings, and they lifted into the moonlit sky. Jeremy waited until they were several hundred feet above the earth to let out a shout of joy. Well, let's take a look at this picture. He's really high over his town, Blodgett's Crossing, and this, we can tell that this is at the nighttime, because in the daytime she had used her arms to grab him on his sides and pick him up, and now he's riding on her back like he would ride a horse. Every night after that, Jeremy slipped out of the house at midnight to accompany the dragon on her journeys across the sky. Sometimes she went so high that the air became thin and hard to breathe. They flew into clouds, skimmed across rivers, soared over cliffs. Tiamat hunted on these nights. Out in the wild, away from the pets and people of town, she would put Jeremy on top of a high hill and then swoop through the bushes, catching squirrels, rabbits, bats, and raccoons. The first time he watched her eat a rabbit, he thought he was going to be sick. No sense in getting mad at a dragon for being a dragon, he told himself, turning his head away from the gory sight. But even the hunting she was doing was not enough. She was over 20 feet long now, and still growing. Soon, she would need larger prey. I have to go home soon, Tiamat told him each night when the flight was over. Jeremy would nod, leaning his head against her shoulder, trying not to weep. Once she folded a leathery wing around his shoulder as if embracing him. Yet, as much as he dreaded her leaving, he knew it would also be a relief. Caring for her had put such a strain on him that his mother had started to worry about his health. A week after the night rides began, Mrs. Thatcher announced she was taking him to the doctor for a checkup. "Why can't Dad check me?" protested Jeremy. "He's a doctor." "He's a veterinarian," said Mrs. Thatcher crossly. That means angrily or madly. "I want you to see a people doctor." But other than general exhaustion, Dr. Hulan found nothing wrong with Jeremy. "Have you been getting enough sleep?" he asked, rubbing his bearded chin in puzzlement. When Jeremy shook his head, Dr. Hulan scowled. "Start sending him to bed earlier," he said to Mrs. Thatcher, "and give him a mug of warm milk before he turns in." That was fine with Jeremy. He'd been looking for an excuse to go to bed early. A little extra sleep would give him more energy for his midnight flights with Tiamat. Not that there were many of them left. Soon, far too soon, Friday, the 23rd of June, arrived. And we remember what the 23rd of June meant. The 23rd of June was midsummer. So, I hope you're enjoying it. We're getting closer to the end. We're almost there. All right. I will talk to you later.